All right, here we are. We all experienced Jason Richardson. I have now for the, I think, fourth time. And it's always just a distinct pleasure. And speaking of distinct pleasures, look who I got with me. I got our lead actor, Michael Sadler. I got Joshua Pausanos, our cinematographer for the film, and JP Emodi, the director and the writer as well. Um, so, yeah, this is pretty cool. One thing I didn't say really at the beginning of this whole thing, which I should have said, is that we talked about our typical format of the Q and A's, where it's a one-on-one thing. But as you can see with this whole Baymade Presents, we're doing one film, longer form film, and then also a longer form roundtable afterwards. And this is afterwards. I'm with the guys, with the filmmakers right now. So we're going to get into it, and we're going to talk about how Jason Richardson was made. So yeah, everybody awkwardly say hi to the audience right now.
What up?
Michael, it's your turn. You got anything? There you go. Cool. Wow. Consistent across the board. That was pretty good. We practiced that. So let's just jump into it right now. I think there's no better place to start than really getting into the genesis of this film. I think one thing that sticks out to me in this film is that there's nothing that's superfluous. There's nothing that doesn't feel like it's personal or like real and honest in some level. So JP, this question's for you. Is like, just tell us about the genesis of this film and how this idea was formed around Jason Richardson.
Yeah, definitely. Well, first of all, thank you so much for having the three of us on here. Thank you to Josh and Michael also for joining. Yeah, you two were like definitely the driving forces behind the film for me, and yeah, just appreciate you being here to answer some questions with me. But yeah, as far as like where the film started, I started writing it in 2017, and the backstory of it is that I was dealing with grief because my dad passed away, and as a way to, you when that happens, you sort of get in a very isolating place that can be very dark. Although I had like family support and everything, it can still be really heavy and tough to deal with on your own. So a lot of the way that I deal with things is through writing and just through expressing myself through art. And so I knew I wanted to write something, with that mood in mind that wasn't too direct. And so over time, I sort of like created this like mood where I'll just like write things and sort of like creating these characters that I thought represented like the mood that I was like feeling. And so I just kind of wrote some stuff and pulling from like my own personal life and things I like I'm a big Warriors fan. And just sort of like wanting to craft like this idea of like a memory. I knew I wanted it to be a period piece, and so I pulled a lot of the feelings from my own like high school experience and how I felt as a teenager. So that's kind of where it started. And then I also went to Josh to talk about a lot of creating that mood and getting it really distinct with the visuals. And eventually Michael came on as the lead actor. So
Awesome. Cool. No, thanks for sharing that, JP, and sorry for your loss. And we all, I don't know, I guess we all get to celebrate your dad in some way through this film, and it's such a beautiful thing that really hits me every time I watch it. Every frame hits me, and that's praise for all you guys. So I guess we are going to quickly get into the Josh and Michael part and seeing how this triumvirate essentially came together. But before we do that, like, I want to hear a little bit about how you actually decided and when you decided to actually make the film. I think there's one thing about, journaling, and there's one thing about kind of creating this, like, I guess essentially kind of a mood board across like different ideas and different writings and different thoughts and all that kind of stuff. But when there's a decision to actually make and produce something, that's a whole nother thing. So how did that come to be? And what were some of the first steps you took after you made that decision?
Yeah. So I probably started writing, like the way I write is I'll just kind of like I'll be driving or I'll be like doing whatever, I'll be working, and then I'll like at the
Wait. You hold on real quick. That's not safe, man. You got to figure out a better system. No driving and writing. But anyways, keep going.
I'll be driving and thinking and
Driving and thinking's fine, but okay.
I'll be drinking and driving. I'll be driving like at night especially, and when I get home, then I'll sit there and I'll kind of like write on my notes app on my phone. And I feel like a lot of people like in film definitely do that, and I totally understand that way of writing, where there'll be like a lot of ideas and thoughts just like thrown up onto my notes app. And so I'll kind of do that, and or I probably started doing that in like summer of 2017, because there's like such a palpable feeling inside of my house, because the backstory of my dad is he had Alzheimer's disease, and we dealt with it for about 9 years taking care of him. We didn't want to put him in a nursing home. Me, my mom, my sister, we took care of him. My mom and sister are nurses, so they were like sort of the captains of the ship in a sense, and we had my uncle from the Philippines come through to help us out too. And so that was like sort of once he was gone, like the feeling in the house was like it was just starkly cold and very quiet in like the weirdest way possible. Just the absence of him was like so strong. And so since that feeling was so strong, I constantly like had this really like specific mood in my head of like how it felt, and that was sort of the mood that I was trying to capture. So to go back, I mean, like I started writing in like summer, and then I just kind of had like a bunch of drafts that like weren't really like good enough to like show to people yet. And I think towards the end of that year, I ended up like talking to Josh about it, because like Josh and I would just like kind of like hang out and talk about stories and stuff. So I told him first about it, and I think it was like through the conversations with Josh that like gave me the, like it became natural. It was just, we were talking about it constantly. And it just felt like the right time to do it. I feel like with a lot of like things that I make, like it just has to be like the right time, the right feeling. And I mean, I think that's it. It just felt right to start producing it like near the end of that year. And then I brought it to Jake, who is our producer. And Jake is really great because he's super great at like pulling together resources without like, with knowing like how I want things to be run, So that was sort of the beginning. I just brought it to Jake, explained the story to him. And then, yeah, from there, we just started asking people if they were down to help.
Very cool. So, I mean, it sounds like the first like partnership to make this all come to fruition was actually you and your DP, Josh. So Joshua Pausanos, why don't you kind of from your point of view, from your vantage point, like how were you brought in and what were those kind of early conversations like with JP?
Yeah, I feel like all the time, and even back then, me and JP would just like meet up and just talk about like life and just like talk about ideas, and like through those talks that we had, a lot of different ideas sprouted, and we kind of breathed life into them through those conversations. So yeah, I was really thankful to get the opportunity to like help JP like along the journey to like actually make it happen. So yeah, I mean, the conversations were really about like feeling at first, and like the tone and like the mood and just like the atmosphere that we wanted to create. That was obviously like huge for this film, is the atmosphere, as I'm sure all the viewers have felt it. So a lot of the conversations were around like how we could capture an atmosphere that would really portray what Mateo was feeling, what JP was feeling. So yeah, those first talks were mainly about story and like what elements we could bring visually. And sometimes we talk like about sound too, because I always feel like sound and picture, cinematography and the score like go hand in hand, and they could like, really influence each other and make moments just feel even that more stronger. So yeah, our initial conversation was just about, what ways we could do that, which is, our decision making on shooting film and on 16, trying to get a really gritty look, trying to get a look that had sort of a milkiness to it, to kind of complement what I always feel like is uncertainty with what's going on in Mateo's storyline. So yeah, those early conversations were really just talking through those elements and, conversing about how we could actually make that happen. So yeah.
Very cool. Awesome. No, thanks for sharing that. It's so amazing to have like a creative partner where you could actually go in and talk about story, talk about characters, and start to move slowly towards around like the space of how it's going to show up in a frame. And so it's really cool that you guys have that partnership. One more question, and then I want to get to Michael, the star of the film. But one more question for you, Josh. What was the first thing that you did as the DP of this film? The first thing you did once you guys had some of your conversations, the first thing that you kind of took, like you went back to your computer, you went back to, I don't know, like a camera that you test stuff out with, or your phone or whatever it is. What were those initial things you did to prepare for this as the DP of this film?
Yeah, JP definitely had a lot of references that we kind of collected references along the way of our conversations, I feel like, right? Yeah. And so like we would have conversations, for example, about some films that he brought up, some films that I brought up, some DPs like Bradford Young's work in Emodi Saints, I remember was an initial one that we both had talked about before, and it kind of came back in this one. So it was a lot of like reference pulling. One of the biggest ones for me was Jodie Lee Leip's work in Martha, Marcy, May, Marlene, directed by Sean Durkin. And what they did I basically just took our conversations and try to figure out like what techniques these DPs like did to make their films have that quality of like milkiness, underexposed look. That was a huge thing. I think just hanging on that word uncertainty was what was in my mind in doing all this research. I researched with JP, the work of Harry Savides and like what techniques he did to get the emulsion to like speak, in those figurative ways, So yeah, it was a lot of just like going down random rabbit holes on cinematography.com, learning about how Savides like would bake his film, which we didn't do, probably thankfully. But and just like the work of other DPs that went as far as underexposing the stock 3 to 4 stops, which is what I think Bradford did in Antibody Saints, and same with Jodie Lee Leip's. So that's kind of where I went running to, is just researching references and forums to understand how we could like get that look on film. So yeah.
And I feel, to piggyback on that, I feel like definitely like the word uncertainty. I remember when I was writing the word, or like the phrase that I kept in my head was impending doom, and that sort of feeling of uncertainty and haziness. That's sort of the reason why we ended up like using filtration and shooting on film and letting the grain be what it was, and kind of like in a sense like fucking up the image and like making it look really gross almost, and then like shooting it that way. So that was definitely like a big emphasis on trying to capture that like feeling of uncertainty without it being like a straightforward thing that is like said in the film. It just is felt through the images and the sound and the music.
Yeah, it's like a soup of feeling that I feel like every element, whether it was sound, whether it was acting, whether it was like the elements in frame or the way we exposed the stock, definitely was about, I feel like, that word uncertainty. Mm-hmm. So yeah.
Got it. Awesome. Cool. Well, I mean, now we get to talk about the person that was actually, within the frame itself, and so Michael, turning to you real quick, tell us a little bit about like how this project came to be for you, what the process looked like. I also learned a couple of days ago from talking with you that this was your first speaking role, which is amazing to me. I know you did some commercial work and all that beforehand. So to do something that's, to focus on a film that is really this really subtle kind of, for lack of a better way of saying it, tone poem, and really kind of nailing that subtlety is amazing to me. So anyways, tell us a little bit about how this all started. Yeah.
Oh, I had auditioned for this show, and the casting directors, they I don't know if they contacted you, JP, but I know they told me they referred me to you or something like that, and after that, I auditioned for it. It was a cold read, which was hard. And enjoy that, but yeah, I did the cold read, um, and then after that, I don't know. I remember we met up at the mall, and I don't know if that's when he told me I got it, or was it after that, or
I think it was before. Well, I think it was Jake actually who like told me through. I think he knew like a casting director or something, and then
yeah,
like he told me he was like, hey, he knows this guy Michael who's like
yeah,
that he's gonna be like really good. And then I
Mm.
was like, okay, I'll bring him in for an audition, and then
yeah.
yeah, and I think
I thought I did terrible at the audition. Honestly, I thought I did terrible.
Well, it's funny if you watch the audition tapes because like I had the genius idea of acting in it with him instead of having
You were Damascus in this case?
yeah, I was like
Yeah.
playing I think I just told him like I like to just do improv and shit. So like I think I just told him like, hey, I'm gonna be your big brother and I'm gonna tell you to do the dishes and you have to be like you have to basically be like fuck you. And like if you watch it, like I'm not an actor at all. It's like hilarious.
Yeah,
And but what by the time this is all done, your dishes are all clean, your kitchen's clean. Yeah, smart man. Yeah.
and after that, yeah, he gave me a soundtrack and everything to like study, and after that, I kind of like felt the timeline, like remembered about that timeline, and because it was in 2007, and I kind of like pictured what the character would be like, because I kind of know some people that are like the character, and so I kind of like just thought about them, and then I was really watching a lot was I don't know if you guys seen the J. Cole video of She Knows, and it's like a skateboarder kid, and I watched that like 20 times. I'm like, I feel like this is like just what like kind of what I'm trying to go for. And yeah, and shooting and film was hard because I wanted to perfect like everything I was doing, because I knew like I didn't want to waste a bunch of film, and I knew it wasn't cheap and everything like that. So I wanted to like to perfect everything I was doing. And I think that was like a good start for me, because like I did a project right after that, and I feel like I didn't really mess up on that because of the Jason Richardson, and like kind of like trained me to like go into it, know what I'm about to do, you know. So yeah.
That's interesting. Yeah, the stakes get heightened, right? I mean,
Yeah.
especially as a short film where you're bold enough to shoot on Super 16, the budget is limited and all that kind of stuff. You brought your A game. And I read from the No Budge interview, JP, that you were mainly, I think most setups were just 2 to 3 takes, so good on you, Michael.
Yeah.
I got a follow-up question for JP and Michael. So what's interesting to me, seeing is like you did a cold read, and like I could imagine reading this script and without having a playlist, without seeing any visual references, like just not knowing the tone, not understanding how these words are meant to be felt and spoken, all that. So I guess my question is for both you guys, like, how did you guys ultimately come to a point where Michael, you understood who Mateo was, you understood the tone of the film and you embodied it, and JP, you saw Michael embody Mateo. So like what were both you guys doing to come to that point?
I mean, I feel like I think the thing I do is I just try to have as many conversations as possible. So like Michael, how you said like we met up in the mall and we just like kind of I think that was when you got the skateboard.
Yeah.
And then I think we just talked for like an hour or two, and then yeah, I think I also had you like watch like The Master, that one movie, The Master.
Yeah. Yeah.
Very,
that movie, I was lost. I was lost in that movie. I had to watch it twice. I was still lost.
Well, so yeah, I just wanted you to like sort of understand like the sort of the tone I was going for. And yeah, I mean, I don't know. I think a lot of it was just us talking and having conversations. So I don't know. What do you think?
Yeah, I think that, and after you gave me the skateboard, I was skateboarding a lot, like a lot, and just really trying to get in that zone. And I think it was so easy to like talk to you on set and like just throw ideas back and forth. And I think that like really helped the character, if anything.
Yeah, I think that was definitely big. I mean, like, I think I just learned to like trust you, and like once we had rehearsed a few times before we were on set, so it's like I knew that you got the idea. So it was like I didn't, even though we only had a few takes, like I didn't, like I wasn't worried honestly because like I knew you understood the character from our conversations and from the rehearsals.
And what did those rehearsals look like between you guys? If you guys don't mind us kind of jumping in that. Yeah.
I feel like, I don't know how much you remember, Michael, but I think it was kind of a whirlwind because we were like rehearsing, and then like I felt bad because you have to drive from like Fairfield, and then and then I think I would just like have my phone and I'll just like shoot stuff sometimes. Like I remember we did like a rehearsal with like Maureen, where I filmed you guys at the lake, and I think we would just go through it, and then we just have like conversations like about the character, like not even the lines as much, just like the characters.
Yeah, pretty much just trying to see what you wanted to do, and I was just trying to feed off of you, really, and get an idea into the camera, because the rehearsals, they were long, and I just remember I really remember the lake. I don't remember, did we rehearse anything else
besides I know we for sure did the kitchen, because like I was the most like insecure I was about like directing. Like I was like we have to like get this down because it's like one take, like one long pushing. So yeah, I think those are the two main things that we rehearsed. And yeah, I think that's it. But I think the other thing I want to say is also, I like when we were casting, like I did not feel super confident with the script. And so I knew that when I found the lead actor, I was going to sort of shape it around to fit him a little bit more. So when we cast Michael, like there are some like things that I changed like a little bit with the character in order to like sort of fit like his acting style.
And what was it about Michael, JP, for you?
Well, it's funny because like if you read, like usually when I write scripts, like one thing I like to do that's like kind of unconventional is write like the character character descriptions at the top. And Michael, I don't know if you even ever saw the first version of the script, but the very first version of the script has like a description of Mateo, and it's like you, like all the way down to like the way your voice sounds. And and so I think it was like, I think when you came into the audition, I was like, damn, this guy has like the look and the sound, like the intonation of like what I saw when I was like writing. So I think that's what ultimately led to me casting you.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
It's funny you say that because I feel like one thing that you mentioned, JP, with the cinematography was the grittiness, and like you wanted it to feel and sound like gravel, like gravel and wheels. And I don't know if you agree, but like I feel like Michael, also your voice has a little bit of like a roughness like in the low end that like kind of matches that like that kind of feeling too, which I don't know, I just feel like added a little bit of something too, maybe.
Definitely agree with that. That's a cool observation. Cool. Well, I want to move to a couple other things in terms of kind of how this was all made. One thing in particular is just acknowledging that shooting on Super 16 is not inexpensive. You know, it's a bold choice, like stylistically, process wise, and all that. And of course, like for your line producer, it's a bold choice too. Plus, there was a good amount of locations. There's a good amount of cast and all that. So, JP, tell us a little bit about how this project was funded. If you're willing to tell us a little bit about the budget, I think that will shine the light on a lot of this. Really kind of opens up the hood and helps a lot of people in the audience who are like, you know, making their next short film or aspiring to do their first, kind of know about the process.
Yeah. So it was pretty much self-funded, and that goes in like the last film I directed was in 2015. It was called Fire Sale, and that was when I was in college. So it was like 3 years until I directed it. So a lot of it was me saving money in that piggy bank and just, you know, having money for whatever the next thing I was going to do. A lot of it was that. Jake and Josh also helped fund it a little bit. But yeah, I know, like, I mean, I think a lot of people will know, like, we have a really strong film community here in the Bay Area, and we're all here to support one another. And I feel like doing, like, you know, crowdfunding, I feel like is definitely a viable option. And yeah, other than that, I mean, for myself, like with Jason Richardson, like, it was just a thing that I knew, like, I knew I had to shoot it on film, and I knew that that was what was, you know, basically, I feel like you have to do what you have to do in order to make your film how you want it to be. And you can't settle. You have to, like, do it. So I would just, like, pick up jobs, or you know, like, take whatever stable jobs I could in order to be able to pay for the film and to be able to pay the actors. So that's how I did it.
Man, that's pretty incredible. I mean, the fact of, like, I mean, it's also, I mean, we're looking at a 32-minute runtime. So the fact that, you know, that's a lot of dedication. That's a lot of belief in the project. And I think that, you know, if there's any takeaways there, that's kind of what it takes to make something that you, like, really truly believe in, is that level of belief and commitment. Have it be, you know, pulling from your piggy bank, or being able to speak to others that could potentially fund with that same level of commitment, same level of, like, just trust in the process. So that's amazing, man. That's incredible. Cool. Okay, Josh, I got something for you. So you and I have had the privilege of working together on the 50, the documentary that I've been working on for the past 3 years. And you've shot all our reenactment scenes, which have been shot on Super 16. So knowing, you know, really how difficult it can be to shoot on 16, and, you know, knowing that, especially when you guys made this decision to have this really kind of, like, milky, murky image, and to underexpose to the extent that you did, that takes an incredible amount of trust in your own technical abilities, trust in the technical aspects that you're referencing and all that. So I guess, you know, you already alluded to this, and I saw a lot of camera test kind of things you put up online, and kind of write-ups that you put up online. So maybe take a little bit of a deep dive into, like, the type of preparation that you did in order to really kind of nail the look of this film, and particularly make sure that every frame is actually exposed the way you want it to, because that's an amazing feat in itself.
Yeah, I think the preparation through the filming, through the post, was just a lot of no sleeping for me and JP, because it was so stressful. So yeah, that was a lot of what it was, just prepping myself, and I think JP for just uncertainty, actually. But it wasn't too uncertain, because, like, yeah, we did test. We knew, you know, taking this deeply personal story and, you know, forever encapsulating it in film meant that, you know, we didn't want to do anything wrong to, you know, fuck up the image too much, you know. So we, yeah, like you mentioned, yeah, we did test a little bit. It felt like a pretty, like, it was a decent, it was like a thorough test, but it was still very nerve-wracking, because, like, we were still kind of toying with filters, and, like, a lot of filters, actually, and a lot of different ways that we were thinking of pulling the film. We were thinking of pull processing the film, or pushing the film. And so there was a lot of things to test, and that made it very stressful, because we kind of still didn't know exactly the way we wanted to go, but we did have a short testing period that we, like, quickly shipped the film out and back, and we were able to see, like, what different things spoke, like, the clearest to us. And, you know, I advise, definitely, if you're going to go down the film route, is if you can save a couple $100 to test, I think it's really important. Just to also know how your scan's going to turn out, because, you know, you can get a multitude of different kind of scans that will affect the look of it too. But yeah, I mean, it really just took us, you know, renting filters and lenses to make sure we had the look solidified, and from there we kind of just took some time to look at the tests and feel which images spoke best to us. And I think that that's kind of how we came and prepared for what we were going to do, aside from the amount of nerve-wracking nights waiting for the film to come back. And, you know, we didn't have dailies also, like, you know, we don't have the luxury of big Hollywood films where we can send the film the day of, and, get dailies back. We were literally hoping that we were underexposing like 2 to 3 stops every day, hoping that it would come back in like 2 weeks, 3 weeks, and be all done. So thank you, JP, for trusting me. Yeah, I'm just thankful for the crew too to make all that happen within the whole time that we had. You know, it definitely isn't just us. It was the whole crew that was able to expose it and work fast enough to make it happen. So yeah.
You should probably also thank JP for taking a few years off your life and all that, just waiting in bed.
You too, Brenton. You too. We should too, right? I'm sure you have some time off your life.
Yeah,
right?
I think I probably did the same to you, but yeah, just shipping film in general, man. I just
boy,
refreshing your FedEx tracking and all that. But JP, were you going to jump in and saying something to say something?
I was just going to say, like, you know, obviously with all the tests and everything, like, I mean, the thing is, Josh and I have worked together for like literally since we were freshmen in college, and like I think we have a visual like language that we already sometimes we don't even have to like say anything to each other. We just like sort of figure it out as we're going. And with those tests, like I remember like Josh, I think you came over to my house with like a whole like box of like filters and like like literally like like
too many filters,
and we're just like, okay, should we stack these or should we like what should we do here?
I remember that Excel sheet that like I feel like it was super dialed in, but then when we started to put it in as we were shooting, and like we just didn't even use it. We just wrote it down, and like so it was slightly organized but kind of disorganized. But
that's just our vibe though, you know, that's how we do things.
Exactly.
Gotta be a little chaos in it.
Exactly.
Do you feel like you guys over prep, or do you guys, I mean, is that a tendency that you guys have?
I think if anything, maybe like I think we prep like a good amount, but I think we just do it like too late.
It was just super last minute. Yeah.
We're just procrastinators, but I mean, Josh, like, thank you for being like bold enough to be willing to like take that journey with me, kind of thing.
Yeah, I mean, I love darkness.
It's obvious from your Zoom frame right now. Yeah,
exactly. Yeah. Courtesy of Ashley Valenzuela.
Go Ashley! Shout out, Baymade 3 alumni. That's awesome, guys. Cool. So let's move to set real quick, and I want to ask actually Michael specifically, like what. You know, I mean, the film, we keep on saying the word mood, we keep on saying the word tone, and it's so distinct, and you carry that beautifully, JP, throughout 32 minute runtime, and it just holds up the entire time. So knowing the tone of the film, what was like the tone of set like? What was the vibe on set? Michael, can you speak to that a little bit?
Like between everybody or just like for the character?
I think for both. Like, I mean, just especially as an actor, it's really interesting. As a director, it's really interesting to me because you step on set, you're probably, especially on a smaller set, you're talking to crew, you're talking to the other cast and all that kind of stuff. You might be going to crafting, getting like a protein bar or something and a coffee.
I ate a lot of fruit snacks.
There you go. Oh, I was close. But then all of a sudden you got to be on, right? So like what was the environment that JP said, that the rest of the crew said, that enabled you to give this performance?
Well, everybody was really cool. I do remember like meeting up with them and I tried to give Josh a handshake and he gave me a hug instead. They wouldn't allow a handshake. So I remember that. They're all really friendly. It was all really like nice and they were really good. But with the character, it wouldn't really relate. I just like I got the reason I got into acting is for comedy, but I found like doing this, it's so much easier to do like dramatic like moments like being like down and depressed, and it's so much easier. Like I can cry on command and stuff like that. So I think I remember begging JP to let me cry in the car scene, but it's really a lot easier for me to just act depressed, and I think it's partially because of my voice maybe, and it's just a lot simpler and easier for me. So
that's cool. That's really, it seems like just actually having that family vibe but I mean, you're a professional, you get into it when you're there.
I can get it.
Yeah.
Like, really easy. I don't know what it is.
Well,
maybe I'm deep down, I'm depressed or something. I don't know.
Well, yeah, man, you're made to channel all the whole spectrum of emotions that we go through as humans. It's your responsibility to put it
Yeah.
on screen. That's a big responsibility, and you did it beautifully here. So going back to performance real quick, one thing that's really distinctive. This is really this is really in celebration of both the writing and the performances, but there's this kind of grounded, elevated feel to it. I almost feel like, I don't know, they feel like you can't quite touch the performance. It feels like it's almost like you're watching a foreign film spoken in English in a way, if that makes any sense. But I think with Mateo, he's really subtle, he's understated, he's really has this warmth to him, but he also has this troubled nature. He's going skating around throwing eggs for no reason, right? He's a kid, right? So like, and you kind of talked about this before, but like when did you feel like you actually found Mateo? Was that pretty easy for you, or was there a moment where you're like, okay, this is him, I know him?
I think I just really like had to like be him for a while, like just skateboarding every day. I was at the skate park a lot, listening to old music, listening to like watching the video, watching characters like on films and TV shows that like reminded me of what I wanted to bring to the character. I think that really like helped me be him. And yeah, I think just studying a lot, like and observing everything else, like every character that I could see and just try to put it all together. I think that really like helped me, if anything.
Very cool. It sounds like references are a big part of basically everybody's process for this film.
Can I jump in really quick?
Yeah, absolutely.
I think one of the things that probably helped Michael was also like, for sure, like I made like a playlist that like, it was like a playlist of music that I would have listened to at that age, which is like kind of like low key like rap, and like a little bit of like punk music, and just kind of like really angsty like underground rap, like old school shit and some like kind of Bay Area stuff. And so I feel like specifically like just listening to that music and skating around. I think I even asked Michael, I think I asked you to like just like skate around, and you were already doing that. So like I didn't even have to like tell you to do it. But yeah, I think that just listening to the music and skating, like that was like all you had to do in order to like really understand the character, because that is like really, that was the way that Mateo expressed his emotions in a lot of ways. And just like not necessarily like method acting that, but just like doing it and like feeling it. I think that was what helped you the most. So
yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
Well, that's pretty cool. Like the thing, one of the through lines, or I wouldn't say a through line, but like the consistent transition throughout the film are the wheels. So I could imagine feeling the gravel underneath your feet as as the board's shaking every once in a while. That kind of grounds you in that space. That's awesome. Thanks, JP. So I got a question for you, JP and Josh. Back like talking about performances and talking about kind of this different approach, especially the dialogue. Like, we know about the poetic dialogue in that, which I found really quite incredible. I really loved it. But also in terms of composition, right? Like, there's no like simple formula to your coverage and how you composed frames, right? It's not like, okay, single, over, master, anything like that. It's like, no, you got this guy at the auto body shop and he's dead center with a ton of headroom and stuff like that, with a bunch of placards above him, right? And then you have Michael in a completely different frame, and they're performing across each other. So tell us a little bit about how you found those frames. Did you guys set any rules when it came to composition? And then how does blocking come into the mix too, and how do you guys kind of like work through blocking?
I feel like a lot of the decisions we were making, like there definitely, I don't think there was like a set of rules, like as far as like composition goes, really, Josh. I don't know, you can like chime in if you think we did, but like, yeah, I don't think there was like rules necessarily. I think it was just us. I think one thing I like to do is I like to know what, like, I don't like to do like coverage too much, unless it's like a really long dialogue scene. I like to sort of have intention with like how we're framing like the characters, and all going back to like the feeling and the mood that we're trying to achieve. Specifically with the auto shop, I feel like we wanted Michael's or Mateo to be like, you know, the center of attention in a lot of ways. And for like all the composition feels kind of weird and off when it's like on other characters. And that's to sort of put the audience and the viewers into Mateo's mindset and what he's going through. For instance, like at the lake, the whole thing, like it has the zoom in shot and fade, and then like it cuts to him sitting with Tay, played by Maureen, at the lake, and like you don't see her face until maybe like a minute into the conversation. So like all those decisions were like on purpose in order to, you know, sort of put the audience into Mateo's you know, frame of mind and sort of have things feeling off so that the audience can sort of like get that what he's going through is like not his normal everyday to day life.
Yeah. Yeah, I feel like especially with like the lake and like with the auto body shop, like you're saying, like we framed the other people through his mindset because like he's going through this like super weird mystery that he's still trying to figure out. So it's like he's kind of like paying attention, but he's also like in this weird stupor where it's like, what is like this feels off. So like when we cover Maureen's character, like we, like you said, we don't see her all the way into like kind of more into the conversation, and you know that's to evoke that feeling. Or at the auto body shop, putting like an older figure in like a weird corner of the frame kind of just makes, I feel like the shot almost makes him look like not as adultish, or like I feel like that scene is like adults don't really know everything either, and like even though he's trying to console Mateo, he's like not really providing any solid advice for him to move on and find his brother. So like all, like you're saying, JP, all like the decision making, I feel like we had talked like thoroughly before, and either we had figured out the framing or we knew what it was going to be on set like somehow, but it was always like to serve, you know, Mateo's point of view. And one last thing is like I feel like both me and JP, I don't want to speak too much for you, but like we both were super into and still are into Steve McQueen, and his philosophy around like shooting is just to, you know, you should know what you're going to use in the edit. You don't need coverage. You don't need, you can be concise with, you know, your shot selection. There's no reason to spend more time of the day getting coverage if you know you're not going to use it. So I think that was a big influence on the little amount of coverage we had too. So
Completely agree with the Steve McQueen point for sure.
mm-hmm.
Cool. Awesome. Yeah. I mean, once again, like bold filmmaking, like the fact that you guys know and you feel and you have confidence in how things will cut together and all that kind of stuff. And you almost back yourself in a corner because you're uncompromisingly knowing what you want to create, and you're doing it. And that's amazing. So, all right. So this is the part of the discussion where we invite somebody from the audience into the mix, and they're going to be in the roundtable for a bit. So we got William that's going to jump into the Zoom, and he's going to ask you guys a question, and he'll pop right out after he asks the question. It worked. William's coming on. Connecting audio, check. Visuals coming soon. Hey, William. Welcome to the roundtable.
Oh shit, yo.
Welcome, man. Cool, ask away.
Wow, so I just wanted to start and say congratulations. I watched this when it came out on I think it was was it Film Shortage or was it just a Vimeo pick? I don't remember which one.
It was on No Budge.
Oh shit, No Budge, right. But No Budge, and then yeah, I saw it on the Vimeo there, and I was just blown away. And then I tried to link it and send it to a bunch of my friends, and it had gone down. So I was really glad when this came up because I wanted to watch it again and have other people watch it, because it's just like, I don't know, I was blown away, and it like just put me in sort of a headspace after watching it. And I don't know, it ultimately inspired me. I know I'm like straying away from a question, but I'll get there in a sec. I guess I just also wanted to start with JP, just listening to you talk about your dad. I lost my mom like at the end of last year, and I totally like, in terms of like, I'd seen this like right maybe, I don't know, a couple weeks after that had happened, and I obviously had no idea that there was sort of that connection, but now like sort of putting that together, I don't know, I get it. And like that whole feeling of like monotony, I was trying to like put it together and connect it with, and I just felt so right to where I was in my life. So that was like a fantastic job of just capturing like the mood of losing someone and being sort of stuck in that place. Anyways, I'm getting distracted. My question was about the dialogue. I think what struck out to me and what this kept going back to was both the scene with Marine, them by the fountain, and sort of the conversation they had there, but then also the conversation at the auto body shop when the car comes back. And just some of the dialogue there, it feels like straight out of a poem that I would read in like the NPR like daily poem thing. But then at the same time, it's like intermingled between like this like super grounded dialogue that feels like really real. So I'm just curious how you came to the place to like infuse like this really poetic stuff with this really grounded, heartfelt moments.
Yeah, well, first of all, very sorry for your loss, man. I mean, we both know it can be very tough. And I mean, I think that the people that resonate the most with this film and the writing are people who have lost their parents specifically. So very sorry for your loss. And I'm glad that you were able to like, we were both able to like connect in that way. As far as the dialogue, I don't know. I feel like the way I write dialogue is very, I just kind of like spitball some stuff sometimes. And then I just like, again, like throw it up onto the page and then like see what happens. I was very, very inspired by like postmodern literature and books, novels. I was reading a lot of like Dom DeLillo, Thomas Pynchon at the time, and like David Foster Wallace kind of stuff, where like the dialogue is like almost like it, definitely not realistic, but like it's like a combination of being like realistic or like a little bit believable, but like also at the same time poetic. So that's sort of where I was going. And then as like I wrote it a certain way in the script, and then when like the actor said it out loud, then we sort of adjusted it from there. But yeah, that's sort of how we came up with the dialogue there.
Cool, thank you. I don't know, is that all? Just the one?
That's it for now, my friend. But I know you have a couple more, so feel free to send it back our way, and we'll send it to JP as well. And William, thank you so much for jumping on. This was really cool having you.
For having me, and
thank you for sharing your story. Yeah.
Thanks, once again, I want to shout out to all three of you. You guys are amazing and definitely massive inspirations to me. So kudos.
Thank you.
Thanks, William.
Thanks, William. Well, that was cool. That was really cool. Well, we have somebody that's going to jump in with another question, and she's going to have a tough time maybe following up on William, but we all love her at Baymaid, and we're going to have Ashley jump on pretty soon with her question. So let me double check. If you see me looking down, it's because I'm making sure. Yeah, she's coming on in right now. Ashley.
Hi, how's it going, y'all? So my question for you guys, since as we all know, filmmaking is a collaborative effort in all angles, I want to ask you guys if you guys are able to like break down a scene from the movie that all you guys can speak from, as far as like from JP's directing point of view, Michael's acting, and like his motivations to get him to the character, as well as like Josh's side as far as like shooting and how they accomplished, those scenes to make it happen. So can you guys like break down the kitchen scene that's like, especially the one with the Warner Steadicam shot, as well as like the brothers with the arm wrestling, like, because it's just so memorable, and I felt like there was a lot of great blocking in that. So can you guys please like elaborate on that? Sorry, it's a big question.
No, that's a good question. Michael, do you want to start sort of your perspective?
Well, I could say for the arm wrestling, that was all like improv. That was just off the top. And but that, I don't know, that scene, I enjoyed that scene. That was fun. And during like, I remember the juice box, I change, like I had asked you to change something about that scene, like with the refrigerator. I can't remember like too much, but I changed some. I remember I asked you to change something in that, and it like made it a lot more like feel a lot more natural. And it was just like little things like that really like helped that scene like flow like so natural. I don't know.
How'd you feel about like, because I remember we rehearsed it with Brian. How'd you feel about like rehearsing on that rehearsal day and then to the actual shooting day?
I think it was a lot like smoother because I don't really like rehearsing at all. And I think when we really did it, it was a lot better. It was like really, I don't know, I really liked him, and he was like really good with me, and I don't know, it just felt like he was really like little bro in me and everything. So I don't know.
I will say for that, like just to shout out Brian, we had Brian for one day. He's Damascus, and we purposefully scheduled it so that we would have Brian on the first day of shooting, so that he would be like around the crew and he would be interacting with Michael and everything, and then he would be gone like for the rest of the shoot in the same way that like Damascus disappears for the rest of the shoot. So we did that on purpose, and yeah, I think you're right, like with the whole like rehearsal thing, like it was pretty messy when we were like rehearsing it in my kitchen, and then like on the shoot day it was so smooth because like I think we were just like getting the shot like blocked out and everything, but like I think we just ran through it like once or twice, and then there like the only like changes we made were like the small things like with the juice box, or like I remember I wanted you to like spit a few times, like spit like that.
I remember making the eggs. We went through so many eggs and just keep getting them out.
And then just like all that, and then making sure all the timing was right. We just kind of just went through it a few times, and then Josh, you can jump in here, but that the camera push in was like, I remember there was something about like the push in and where it ended or something that we were like trying to figure out, and also like that the orange light overhead that was like really subtle, like stuff like that. So
yeah, I remember I'm remembering it, like I don't know if it was the first thing we shot, but I remember there being time where you guys were really, I remember you sculpting the little things that made it feel like more brotherly, or it felt more smooth. And while that was happening, I know that we were trying to think about like rough timing, because I don't know if it was always perfect each time, but I know our Steadicam op, Kuhn Wachirawat, he and I and all of us were kind of just watching the performance every time it was like changing, or like kind of getting to the spot where it was when we shot it. And that was super helpful just to watch the blocking. Like,
did you freeze?
I think you froze, Josh. Ashley has taken up too much bandwidth in the place.
I'm using my own Wi-Fi.
No, you're back, Josh. Josh is back. Keep going.
Is he back? I don't see him.
Hey there, hello.
I think he's back. Is he back? Yeah, sorry, we're back. We're back.
Anyways, I was just gonna say, I don't know how we got to the point where the perfect timing happened, but I know we shot it like 3 times, I think, and like somehow we landed at like the perfect moment where like it settled in with Michael, how he was like looking, and then he looks up, and that was a fun one just to watch the blocking, and having our Steadicam up watch it and just like get it instilled in his breath and his movement was really important. So that was what I remember. And then the orange light, I know we were trying to get some sort of like hint of like something. I know that scene was really dark, and that was just trying to fine tune like what we were doing for lighting. That was tough, but I know we got into a good place with it. So
and I know that was like for sure the kitchen scene, because we tested in there, like that was where we really wanted it to be like really dark and like sort of like brownish in the shadows. And so I feel like shooting dark and making it muddy sort of like definitely helped with that.
That's
what I remember coloring it and like being like, holy shit, this looks so fucking good, you know?
I know, I remember like it was fine tuning like the quasar tubes I think we had overhead to make them really orange, and then yeah, that was what we wanted to do, right? And the filtration we used we just wanted to make it feel warm. Like all the stuff with Damascus and Mateo together, we all wanted to be warm. And that scene for sure was like a marker on like how we were able to achieve that, that muddy, dark, warm look with them together. So yeah.
And also shout out to Ashley for keeping it in focus also.
For real.
Yeah, especially keeping this particular film in focus, right?
Yeah.
Wow. What a feat.
Oh, it was so scary. That was like my first time pulling on 16 too. So thank you guys for trusting me, and I'm glad everything was sharp. That's all I gotta say.
Really
well, except for
sharp.
that one shot that wasn't included in the film. Just kidding. There
We
was
won't talk. This is where you sign off, Ash.
Just kidding.
Just to make sure there's no fights tonight.
Perfect. Everything was perfect. Just kidding. Thanks, Ash.
And shout out to Anders too, who's the gaffer on it as well, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, thank you, Anders.
Yeah.
He's always a great person to creatively collaborate with, and I know we did a lot of really interesting things, especially at the auto body shop. He put a mirror on a truck for that light gag, and that was super fun to do. We were all laughing about it. So shouts out to Anders for coming up with some weird ideas.
Great timing on it too, over Michael. Cool. Thank you, Ash. We will see you back in the chat.
Right. Thank you, guys.
Cool. All right. So we got a couple more questions from different community members. I have a few more questions too, but I'd rather prioritize the community member questions. Michael, it seems like everybody wants to talk to you. That's kind of, everybody wants to know what's next for you, right? So I'll ask specifically a question from Maya. She said she really enjoyed your acting in the film. You said to be working on another project shortly after this one. What was that project, and should we be expecting anything soon?
I'm not working on anything right now. I'm just like auditioning around a lot. But I'm just waiting really, because the whole pandemic thing and everything, it's like slowed everything in Hollywood down. So yeah, I'm just really waiting, just waiting game and auditioning.
Cool. What type of stuff are you auditioning for?
A bunch of different stuff, actually. I just auditioned for like this vampire show. I auditioned for what was it? I auditioned for to be a police officer. It's a lot of different roles, like, yeah, but yeah.
Well, I think somebody was calling in the chat, calling for when does part 2 come out. So maybe maybe you'll be auditioning again to be Mateo again, or you probably already got the role, right, JP? I'm guessing. But
I don't know. It'd be up to JP.
I think it'd be cool if Mateo turns into a vampire. Personally, vampire skater,
yeah,
like vampire skater. Haven't seen it before.
I think there's a niche for that in Hollywood for sure. I don't think JP would get behind it, but yeah. Cool. All right. So we have another question from our friend Syra. Did you end up reshooting anything, or were you guys just perfect and nail everything every time?
Yeah, we were perfect. Not too
perfect. Okay, cool. That's simple answer. Perfect.
I think we originally planned on like shooting some like doing like pickups. I think we didn't shoot pickups, right, Josh?
No, I mean, I forget. We did have the last scene in the tunnel, which I don't know if it was during principal photography or like a week after. No, it was like the day after, right? Or
it was like, well, that was like in the middle of like. That was like in the middle, like we.
Oh, that's right. We shot in 2 weekends, and we shot the tunnel scene in the middle. Okay, yeah, that's right.
Yeah. So there was that, but like I think we were planning on doing some. There was like another like kind of thing at the end that I originally kind of wanted to do, having to do with like the houses that were like being constructed.
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
So that was the only thing we were gonna plan on reshooting eventually, but I think I started editing, and then I realized that I didn't really, I was like happy with like where we were.
What an amazing feeling to be in the edit and be like, yeah, this is good. This is good. This is good.
I also didn't have any more money. So.
Say again.
I also didn't have any more money, really.
Yeah. You're like, this isn't great, but it will do. Yeah.
Yeah. And it was also just like, it felt right. So I didn't think we needed to do anything else.
Yeah. The feeling in the film is just, like I said, it's consistent all the way through. It's an incredible film. All right, we have a couple more questions. We got one from Jeremy Salome. I hope I pronounced that right. He says, lovely film. What were the inspirations or thought behind the sound editing? And I'm also going to add the music to the mix. I think that everybody in the chat was commenting on the sound, and it's really cool to hear that you and Josh were even thinking about the sound together, like in your conversations about the visuals. So yeah, JP, let us in a little bit about that, and maybe give a shout out to your sound designer, your composer, because they killed it.
Yeah, oh yeah. So yeah, totally. When I first started talking to Josh, like, I think the way that I look at directing something is like, even though like I'm always thinking about like those elements in the same way that I'm thinking about how like in the same way that an actor is shown and affects like the, you know, the audience with their performance, like the sound is going to do that, and the cinematography is going to do that, and all the decisions that we make are all going to influence the way that the audience reacts to it. So it's like extremely important to focus on sound and music. And one of the earliest things that I do, especially when I'm writing, is I will make like playlists that you know, that fit the mood of the film. And that's like one of the, like when I share the script with people, I had a handful of people that gave me feedback for the script. I'd send them the script and the music that was like inspiring me or that created the mood. I think I sent one to Josh, and I think he told me like when he was reading it, it fit like the beats of the film like perfectly. So yeah, for sure, like the way that the skateboard wheel sounded, and the way that we ended up doing ADR, the way that all that sounded to match like the look of the film, that was extremely important to me. And that's what, like, I mean, we shot this in like 2018. Like that's what the last year of editing was just like really like focusing in on the sound design and getting all the music right. To shout out my sound editors, Andrew Kang did an amazing job starting off and recording the ADR and also doing some of the sound editing. And then Matt Barron for coming through and kind of finishing that up. So it was like kind of like both of them with input. And then our composer, Danny Spiteri, similarly to Josh, like I've worked with him since college, and we're just like friends in general. Really like nailing down like and not compromising like how the music had to sound to complement like the feeling of Mateo and the characters. I worked really closely with them on both of those things. But yeah, I think with both visuals and sound, like the, you know, visual, sound, the actors, like it's all like on the same level. Production design, wardrobe, like everything's all on the same level as far as like my focus and attentiveness to them from the very beginning. So even all the way down to like I'll write like music or sounds into the script. So yeah, I think Josh, you can chime in here, but that's one thing that I for sure like try to do in order to get all the collaborators like on the same level for like the vision that we all want to create.
Yeah, no, spot on music. Like it was inspirational to all the keys for sure to hear it all, and you could definitely see how it influenced the final product. So yeah, appreciate that.
You said something interesting right there, Josh. So it sounds like you shared some of the music with the crew. Was it a playlist that you shared, or what was it that you shared with the keys that you mentioned?
Yeah, there's a playlist that I sort of had going on that throughout pre-production I would like kind of change, and even like during post-production, as you know, things change over time. So I would add songs into it. And I mean, I think I just listen to a lot of music in general. So there are times where I'd be listening to a song and it would strike a certain emotion or feeling within me. And then I'll be like, I have to add this to the playlist so that people know what I mean, because like I'm not great at like explaining myself sometimes. So it's just good to like give them like an actual like feeling from like music. I think in the playlist there's this really great artist named Grouper who makes like ambient music. So a lot of that was in it. There's some classical music like Debussy and Ravel. There was old school hip hop like the song in the movie Oh by the Grouch. There's some like Angel Olsen. There's some little bit of like Radiohead. So all of that is like, yeah, in the playlist, and I think it tells like people what I'm trying to achieve. So
that's awesome. That's really cool. I would follow JP's Instagram just for his music recs that he posted in his story. It's definitely worth it in his stories. Cool. Okay. Couple more questions and then we will be done for the night. One question I got is, how was like San Jose and the South Bay kind of a character in this film? It was, I mean, it was a distinctive very backdrop, and not just a backdrop. It was, I mean, just like you mentioned, right? This whole film is really a symphony where no part of the orchestra is like less than another part, you know? And I really feel like San Jose distinctly stands out in this film. So tell us a little bit about that, JP.
Yeah, for sure. I think that one of the like a lot of the feedback that I was getting once we released the film on No Budge was from people who were like in San Jose and specifically in Evergreen, which is where it was just like my hometown, that neighborhood of San Jose is my hometown. And a lot of people from Evergreen who watched it told me like they had never seen like Evergreen looking like so like specific and literally like feeling like how it felt when we were like teenagers. And so, yeah, for sure, San Jose had, you know, we said it in San Jose, and in a lot of ways, it was a character because it's obviously set in 2007, and it's based on a lot of like memories and feelings that I had when I was around that age. And specifically, like one of the things I talked to Josh about a lot was like the financial crisis that ended up happening, and how that was like that feeling, like being a kid and not knowing what was happening, but knowing that there was like something like dark looming in the future. That was like really important. And the way that I like observed it in this environment, that was like a really important note to hit for us, as far as like that uncertainty and like sort of it being a layer to what Mateo was going through. So yeah, for sure, San Jose was there's definitely like a sort of like stereotypical like skater tagger in San Jose. And I think that's sort of the kind of person that Mateo is. And so, yeah, I mean, I think you're influenced by your environment, and for sure Mateo was like influenced by like his surroundings of San Jose or the South Bay.
Very cool. Yeah, as a person that lives in San Jose now, I think grew up in Half Moon Bay, but half of my family lived in San Jose. I would go there every weekend. Like I distinctly like it almost like evoked a certain like kind of almost the smell of San Jose, the hot pavement and all that kind of stuff in your film. I felt that. So and you know, like the backdrop, that one shot of the building or the houses that have been construction stopped, which places us in, you know, the 2008 crisis, but it really places us on the edge of San Jose, which I thought was beautiful. Cool. Okay. So last questions. How is the film getting out in the world right now, and what's kind of the next thing for Jason Richardson?
Well, we've submitted it to some festivals, so we're just kind of waiting to hear back. Hopefully it gets out there. Hopefully people see it and it resonates with people. But yeah, that's kind of just the plan for now. We're just submitting it. So
cool. Okay. So now the question is, what's the plan for you all? So we heard from Michael a little bit, but yeah, feel free to kind of expand on that. Like maybe Josh, you start in terms of what kind of stuff you're working on now, what you're excited about in the future, and where do you see your work going? I think everybody's really interested about this kind of this team right here, and three of you guys individually as well as artists.
Yeah, well, I hope to just collaborate with, you know, my friends more. This production, Jason Richardson, was something I miss all the time. I mean, it was literally like summer camp for all us friends that we all have stuck together since graduating. So I just hope to, well, first of all, also thank you to the whole crew for making it such an enjoyable experience, and thank you for your work on it. And like, yeah, I just hope to make more projects where I can feel like it's a family on set. Like, obviously the content is important, what we're filming, but I just think that with our industry, like, it's really also important just to like, just to feel like we're creating something with honesty by being with the family, you know, of people around you. So I just hope that the future brings more collaborations like this, hopefully with JP, with all my friends, and hope to gain more friends along the way. And yeah, narrative is really my focus. But I feel like you could find that honesty in like, you know, all the work that we create. So that's what I'm looking forward to. Shooting on 16 is always great. But also down with digital too, if you don't have the budget. But, you know, I love shooting and exposing things on film. So hopefully that continues in the future for not just our little crew, but for more people in the Bay Area, for sure.
Awesome. Thanks, Josh. How about you, Michael? I know you already kind of touched on this, but is there any other things that you want to mention?
That's pretty much it. It's really just a waiting game for me. You know, I'm hoping to go back to LA pretty soon. I was out there for a short, like four months, and then it hit.
Pre-pandemic?
Yeah,
Oh,
right
wow.
before pandemic. I moved in
Yeah.
January, and then I came out here thinking I was going to be out here for like maybe a month max, and it just never stopped. So just looking forward to going back out there. I got signed, so I'm just looking to get more and more opportunities and everything. So just seeing what's to come.
You might have a lot of filmmakers who watch today knocking at your door after this. So yeah, cool. How about you, JP?
Well, to sort of piggyback on what Josh was saying a little bit about the crew, yeah, phenomenal crew, amazing. I've never been like I feel like directing is like it's easy to get like very stressed out, and I was like not stressed out at all during this production. And I think that just is a testament to the crew and how like it was such a fire like 2 weekend. It was so fun, like just like being able to like set things up and like watch the crew do what they do and like work with Michael and all the other actors. And I think that's the most important thing is like creating that environment and you know creating like an environment that you know encourages creativity and where people like aren't like tired as fuck and like you know like it's an enjoyable experience. And I think that's what's so great about like the community that we have in the Bay Area is you know we're all here to help each other, and there's so many stories that need to be told that you know that we're all willing to help each other with. And yeah, I think it's important to have like an environment that's like a safe space, that's inclusive, that that yeah, like I said, promotes creativity. And I feel I just want to thank the crew for like making that happen and it being such an enjoyable experience. So yeah, I totally hope to you know work with all of them again. For myself, I am just vibing for now, I guess, but kind of you know I want to go watch Warriors games and see if they won tonight. But yeah, I don't know. I'm just trying to, you know, I don't like planning like when I'm gonna do like direct anything again. It kind of just happens naturally. But yeah, otherwise, just trying to help people out with their projects. Just trying to stay sane during the pandemic, and you know, kind of hope that things get better. So.
Cool. Well, we appreciate you guys so much. You made this night better for sure, and appreciate everybody that was in the live chat, that was watching and everything, because this kind of wraps up our show. So first of all, like I said, thank you, Josh. Thank you, JP. Thank you, Michael, for the extraordinary piece of art that you put out in the world. But also just for hanging out for the last like 15 minutes and just talking shop. That was really fun. So appreciate you guys. And I want to thank again our sponsors, everybody that supports Bay Made, Roast and Post, Steel Hip, LVL Films, which is my production company that I help run with Esteban Padilla, Border Women Films, and community partners like Little Giant and Making Movies is Hard podcast. As I said at the beginning, we made Bay Made to really kind of celebrate the Bay Area community and to celebrate what really Josh and JP are talking about, the incredible like field of talent that we have here, but like soulful talent and stories that need to be put out there. So we're here to support that. So let us know how we could support that and support your efforts in doing that. And make sure to reach out to us. Find us on Film Freeway. If you have a film that you want to be screened in a future Bay Made, let us know. We want to see it. We want to check it out. And be on the lookout for our April Bay Made 4, I believe. I think we're on 4, which will be announced in your inbox coming up. So we appreciate you guys. This was fun. And we'll see you on the next Bay Made. Bye, guys.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you so much.
Thanks,
Bye.
Brenton. Thanks, everyone.
Thanks, guys. Appreciate you guys.